नमो विष्णुपदाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदांत स्वामिनिति नामिने नमस्ते सारस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा. So welcome back to the Friday night Bhagavad Gita session. So last many weeks we have been discussing from Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur's commentary, Sarartha Varshini commentary of Srimad Bhagavad Gita, and we are currently in the second chapter of Bhagavad Gita. I'll do a quick recap of what we have seen till now. So we saw that at the end of first chapter, Arjuna had put his bow down and he said that I can no longer fight. And Dhritarashtra became very excited, thinking that, oh, if this is the case, then maybe without any fight and without any bloodshed, my sons might get the kingdom. So Sanjaya does not want uh, Dhritarashtra to build castles on air. So he says, Tam tata kripaya vishtam ashru purna kulekshanam vishidantam idam vakyam uvacha madhusudana. Don't worry, my dear Dhritarashtra. Actually, Krishna is Madhusudana. Just he had killed the demon Madhu. In the same way, he will kill the demon of doubt in Arjuna, and he will convince him to fight. So don't carry any false hopes, right? So Krishna starts speaking. He addresses Arjuna. Kutastva kashmalamidam vishame samupastitam anare jushtam asvargyam akirtikaram. Arjuna. My dear Arjuna, you said that by your fighting on the battlefield, you will cause adharma, and you will gain so much. You will commit so many sinful activities which will take you to hell. And you also mentioned that by killing your own kinsmen, you will gain infamy. But actually, you're totally wrong. By not fighting the battlefield, by not fighting on the battlefield, you will be not following your Kshatriya Dharma. Therefore, you will be acting in an adharmic way. And therefore, when you perform adharma, then you will not go to Swarga. And people of this world will not consider that you gave up the battlefield mm, because of compassion or considerations of sin and not sin. But people will consider that you gave up the battlefield because of fear and cowardice. So therefore, they will criticize you and you will become infamous. So your calculation is totally wrong. And then he says, Klaibyam ma smagamapartha naitatvayu upapadyate shudram hridaya daurbalyam tatvotishta parantapa. He says, um, uh, why you are falling um, for this eunuch-like mentality, effeminate mentality, cowardice, basically. Klaibyam mas magamapartha, don't become like a coward, don't act like a coward. Na etat tvayi upapadyate, this does not befit a great Kshatriya like you. Shudram hridaya daurbalyam, what you see as compassion is actually weakness of heart. You should give it up. Tyatva uttishta parantapa, and get up and fight, my dear Arjuna. And you are parantapa, and you are very much capable of chastising your enemies. So you should not be acting like this. So Arjuna gets really agitated hearing this kind of a statement by Krishna. So he says, Katam Bhishmam Aham Sankhe Dronam Cha Madhusudana Ishubhi Pratiyotsyami Pujarha Varisudana. You think I'm a coward? O Krishna, Bhishma and Drona are fit to be worshipped by offering flowers to their lotus feet. And you are asking me to shoot arrows on their divine body? Huh? And when I'm refusing to do it, you are calling that you are calling me a coward. Is it out of cowardice? Huh? Then he says, Guru na hatva hi mahanubhavan shreyo bhoktum vaikshamapi haloke hatvartha kamamst guru nihaiva bunjiya bhogan rutira pradigdan. He says that better than killing my own guru and grandfather, I think it is better that I live by begging. Shreyo bhoktum vaikshamapi haloke. But he says, but they are standing on the battlefield ready to fight with you. Why can't you fight? And you see, they are like arthakamam. They are so much greedy um, after wealth, and because of their greed for wealth, they are doing this. Why should you do it? Why can't you fight with them? He says, Hatvartha kamams to guru nihaiva bunjiya bhogan rudira pradignan. Even though they may be greedy for wealth, if I fight because they fight, then whatever I win because of that battle will be smeared with the blood of my grandfather, my guru, and all my other relatives. How will I be able to enjoy them? Right? So then he says, so are you sure you don't want to fight now? Seem to speak very confidently. So looks like you don't want to fight. So are you sure you want to go to the forest and beg? So Arjuna says, well, actually, I did speak confidently, but I'm not very sure what I should do. He says that Nachaitad Vidmaha Kataranno Gariyo Yadvajayema Yadivano Jayeyuhu Yaneva Hatva na Jiji Vishamas Devastita Pramuke Dhartarashtra. He says, actually, I don't know whether I should fight or not fight. Yeah, and even if I fight, whether I will win or lose, I don't know. So, so it looks like I don't have a very clear benefit of either fighting or not fighting. So, if I fight and kill them, then without any one of my relatives there with me to enjoy, I would not have a desire to. I would not have a desire to enjoy. I would not have even a desire to live my life. Devastita Pramukhe Dhartarashtra, but still they are now standing right in front, ready to fight with me. So what am I supposed to do? Actually, I'm not so clear. It's not so clear. That's what he says. So then, in this mood of indecision, he actually surrenders to Krishna. Karpanya dosho upahata swabhavaha prichami tvam dharma sammuda cheta yat shreyasan nishchitam buruhi tanme shishyasteham shadimam tvam prapannam. He says, actually, my nature has been overcome by my weakness of heart. And dharma sammuda cheta. I don't know what is my dharma. Is fighting my dharma? Is not fighting my dharma? I'm not very sure. Prichami tvam yat shreyasya. Therefore, I'm asking you, Krishna, what is best for me? What should I be doing? Nishchitam bruhitanme. Please tell me with certainty. But then Krishna says, why should I tell you? You are my friend, and whatever I say till now, you have been refuting with by giving various kinds of explanations, your own shastric explanations. So why should I tell you? He says, no. Till now, I may have acted like your friend, but not anymore. I am willing to accept you as my Guru. Shishyasteham, I am your student. Shadimam, please instruct me. Tvam Prapannam, I am a soul surrendered unto you. So please instruct me as to what I need to do. I am not very sure what I should be doing. Right? So, so now um, Krishna may say that, oh, why do you have to come to me? There are many qualified persons like Vyasdev is there, and so many senior Vaishnavas are there, senior uh, qualified people are there. Why don't you go and ask them? Why do you want to come to me? So he says, Nahi prapashyami mamapanudyad yachokam uchoshanam indriyanam avapya bhumao asapatnam riddajyam suranam api chadipatyam. I do not see anyone who can remove this sorrow. And this sorrow is drying up my senses. Mama indriyanam uchoshanam. So Krishna says, okay, right now you are feeling like that. Just fight the battle and win the kingdom. And when the kingdom is right in front of you, just ready to be enjoyed by you, ruled by you, controlled by you, you will feel so much joy that all this drying up of senses will vanish. So Arjuna responds, he says, you think just by this kingdom, by attaining this small kingdom of Hastinapur, you think my sorrow will go away? He says, Asapatnam Ridyam Rajyam Bhumao. Even if you give me an unrivaled prosperous kingdom on earth, or Suranam Adip, or if you give me the whole heaven to rule, still this suffering that I am undergoing will not be pacified. So Sanjaya continues. Evamuktva Rishikesham Gudakesha Parantapa Nayotsya Govindam Uktva Tushnim Babuvaha. So after speaking in this way, Evamuktva Rishikesham, speaking in this way to Krishna, Gudakesha, Arjuna, Govinda Muktva, he spoke to Govinda, no Yotsyati, that I will not fight. Tushnim Babuvaha, he became silent after speaking in this way. Tamuvacha Rishikesha Prahasanniva Bharata, Senayor Ubayor Madhye Vishidantam Idam Vacha. So Rishikesh, the Supreme Lord, Prahasan Iva, he started smiling slightly. Actually, he wanted to laugh, but because he had taken the role of Arjuna was no longer a friend. He had taken the role of a disciple. So if he would laugh in such an embarrassing way, it would really embarrass Arjuna, and he wanted to spare Arjuna of all that embarrassment. So he just smiled, but because he could not, he wanted to not even smile, but he was feeling so. It was such a hilarious situation that he had to smile. He could, in trying to stop his laughter, he ended up smiling. So then he started speaking these words to Arjuna, who was standing there depressed in between the two armies. So Krishna says, Ashocyan anvashochastvam pragyavadamscha bhashase gatasun agatasuncha nanushochanti pandita. My dear Arjuna, you are speaking words of wisdom, but you are lamenting for that which is not fit to be lamented, speaking just like a very, very learned person. Don't you know that really learned people do not lament for gatasun agatasun cha? Really learned people do not lament for, as we saw last time, asuhu means life air or prana. Gata means gone, agata means not gone. So gata asuhu means that from which the life air is gone at the time of death, which is the gross body. So when at the time of death, the life air carries the subtle body from one gross body to another gross body. Okay. So gata asuhu means that from which the life air is gone, which is the gross body. Agata asuhu means that from which the life air is not gone at the time of death, which is the subtle body. And cha indicates the soul. Okay. So he says that a learned person does not lament for the destruction of gross body because the gross body is destroyed even before death, right? Every moment, every 6 years or so, they say that all the cells of the body they change, they die and new cells are formed. So after every 6 years, the whole body is changed, or at least most of it is changed. It's not the same. So the nature of gross body, even when someone is living, is to die, actually. So therefore, one would not, an intelligent person should not lament for destruction of gross body because the gross body at every moment is getting destroyed, even while one is alive. And agata asuhu, one should not be, an intelligent person does not lament for the destruction of subtle body because the subtle body gets destroyed only at the time of liberation. So why would a learned person lament for liberation? So he would not. And a wise person does not lament for the destruction of the soul because the soul cannot be destroyed. So therefore, you are speaking like a very learned person. Don't you know the simple signs that um that mm, you know uh, a learned person does not lament for the loss of gross body because the gross body is always lost. He does not lament for the loss of the subtle body because loss of subtle body means liberation. And he does not lament for the loss of soul because the soul is never lost, it's never killed, it's never destroyed. Okay, so so this is where we end our discussion here. Yes, this is where we ended our discussion last week. Before we start today's session, if there are any quick comments, discussion points, questions, maybe I'll pause for a few seconds if anyone has anything that you might want to share, ask, discuss. You can please raise your hands. We can discuss for a few seconds before we move on to today's session. Anything anyone would like to ask? Okay, if there is none, then we will continue our discussion today. At 9 o'clock, if we will start discussing some of the questions which I had promised that we will discuss, we will take that. Hopefully, if there is um, no questions based on what we have been discussing today, if from Bhagavad Gita, if there is no lingering question, then we will take questions from last week, which we could not address. So Krishna continues speaking about the nature of soul. Okay. So soul and body. So Krishna says, Natvevaham jatunasam natvam neme janadipaha nachaiva na bhavishyamaha sarve vayamata param natu eva aham jatu nasam. Never have I not existed. There was never a time when I did not exist. Na tvam. There was never a time when you did not exist, O Arjuna. Na ime janadipaha. nor these kings. There was never a time when these kings also did not exist. Ataha param nachayeva, nor in the future sarve vayam na bhavishyamaha. There will never be a time in the future when we will also not exist. So, in the past, you, me, and the kings, we all existed. At the present, all of us do exist. In future also, all of us will continue to exist. Okay. Even before Krishna talks about the transmigration of the soul in Dehinosmin Yatadehe verse, the first thing that he speaks about in his instruction to Arjuna is actually the eternal nature of the soul. So now my question to you is, who creates the soul and for what purpose? Who would like to answer this question? Anyone would like to share? Just whatever you think, you can please share. Please raise your hands. Who creates the soul and for what purpose? What do you think? I mean, there are, yes, Sachi Pran Prabhu.
Dandat Pranam Prabhuji, please accept my
Dandat
humble
Pranam.
obeisances.
Yes, Prabhu, please accept
This
my.
soul is the eternal part and parcel of Krishna.
Uh-huh. Okay.
So,
So
Krishna is
who
the
creates
origin
it?
of
So Krishna is the origin
Krishna.
of the soul.
Yeah,
So he creates soul.
he remains eternal. He is the original creation of every cosmos. Plus,
Mhm.
soul is eternal part of the Krishna. So there is no question of creation because soul is
Ah,
always been eternal.
yes, correct. Thank you, bro. That is the, yeah, that is the right understanding. The soul is not created because anything that is spirit is not created. It exists co-eternally with Krishna. The soul exists co-eternally with Krishna. Yes, Shamon, bro, you wanted to share anything?
Prabhuji, there is that Vedic aphorism, no? Eko Bahusyama.
Hmm.
So why is that and how is that?
Wow, very nice question. Yes, thank you, bro. Thank you very much. This is, you asked such a relevant question. I think everyone would appreciate. Eko Bahusyamaha literally means the one Lord became many. So it very clearly seems to indicate that initially there was only one Lord, and then for the purpose of his pastimes, he created many. Actually, there are verses which seem to indicate that. Uh, uh, and even in Bhagavatam, this is what you spoke is an Upanishadic verse, Eko Bahusyamaha. There are similar verses in Srimad Bhagavatam also, like Eko Nanatvam Anvichan Yogatalpat Samuttitah. Like that, I think it's in the second or third canto. The one Lord, Ekaha Nanatvam Anvichan, desiring to become many. Yoga Talpat Samuttitah. He got up from his Yoga Nidra. Like that, there is a mention. So now we have to understand what is the context in which these verses come, because ultimately the verses are there, but the most important thing is not to know the verse, but the most important thing is to know the context of the verse. In what context was this verse spoken? So, this, who is that Ekaha? Who is that one Lord? And Nanatvam. And why did he desire to become many? And then how did he actually become many? Okay, these are the three questions that need to be answered. And so, first thing, Ekaha. Who is that one Lord? That one Lord is actually Karanodakasaya Vishnu. And then, why did he desire to become many? Why did he desire to become many? Because it was time for creation. There is this whole description of how when the time for creation comes, then Maya Devi goes and wakes up the Supreme Lord from his Nidra, like that. So why did he desire to become many? Because it was a time for creation. And how he actually become many, that is described in detail in the second and third canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. It is mentioned that the Lord glances at the Pradhan and or Prakriti, and he impregnates the Prakriti with the living entities and Kala Shakti. Kalat Gunavyatikaraha Parinamat Swabhavatah Karmano Janma Mahatah Purushadishtita Dabut. Like that, it is mentioned in the second canto of chapter. So the Lord glancing at Prakriti to impregnate Prakriti. So how did he impregnate? Because during the time of after the time of dissolution, all the living entities had entered into the body of Mahavishnu, and they were there inside the body of Mahavishnu in a state of sleep, Sushupti. So the one Lord only existed. One Lord only existed means what? One Lord only existed in this particular material universe. One Lord only existed. But in the spiritual world, the one Lord existed and all his eternal associates existed there. So it is not talking about the spiritual reality. In spiritual reality, there is no creation time, maintenance time, and destruction time. It's all eternally there. And all the associates are also eternally there. So it is in the material world when there is creation, maintenance, and destruction. But creation and destruction is only of the place of residence. The residents themselves are not created or maintained or destroyed. The residents either reside in one of the 14 planetary systems in this material universe, or they reside inside the body of Karanodaka Sai Vishnu. After dissolution, they enter into the body of Karanodaka Sai Vishnu. So, Ekaha there means Karanodaka Sai Vishnu, who had not yet manifested the souls from inside his body by glancing at Prakriti. That's what it means. So the souls were not created, they were there inside the body of Karanodaka Sai Vishnu. So Ekaha there means he had not manifested the multifarious souls from within his body into a functional universe. So that is the context of that verse. Eko Bahusyamaha. The one Lord became many, which means he manifested all those souls from within his body, and he impregnated the Prakriti with it, and so that subsequently Brahmaji and others create bodies for those living entity, and they can function. So therefore, even that verse, Eko Bahusyamaha, does not mean that the souls were created. It just means that Karanodaka Sai Vishnu at the time of creation impregnated the Prakriti with many living entities. That's what it means. Is that okay, Shamontu?
Yes, Prabhuji. Thank you.
Hare Krishna. Anything else anyone would like to share, add, ask? You can please raise your hand. Okay, if there is none, then we will continue with the discussion. So now, Krishna is telling, now, oh friend, I will ask you a question. When you see the death of a person you love, you lament. But is the object of affection while the person is in this world the soul or the body? This is the question that Krishna is asking Arjuna. When you see the death of a person, you lament. So, when the person is alive, now you tell me, who is the object of affection? Is it the soul or the body? So, Shukadev says that the soul is most dear to all living beings. Sarvesham eva bhutanam dripa swatmaiva vallabha. He says, if the soul is the object of affection, the soul should not be the object of lamentation because it cannot suffer death, since both types of Atma, the Jiva and the Ishvara, are eternal. If you say the soul is the object of affection, then the soul cannot be the object of lamentation because the soul is eternal, whether it is Ishvara or Jiva. So if you say, so Krishna is asking Arjuna, when someone dies, oh Arjuna, you lament. So can you tell me, whom are you lamenting for? Are you lamenting for the soul or the body? If Arjuna would say, of course, the soul. Then he says, no, he's asking, first you tell me, when someone is alive, who is your object of affection? What is your object of affection? Is it the soul or? If Arjuna would say, it's the soul, then he says, if soul is the object of affection, then there is no need for lamentation because the soul never dies. Right? Because the Jiva and the Ishvara are both eternal. With this intention, he speaks this verse. It is not that I, the Paramatma, have ever not been in existence, but that I have always existed. You also, a Jivatma, have also always existed. These kings, also Jivatmas, have always existed. Here the Lord shows that previous non-existence, Prag Abhav, is absent for all souls. Prag Abhav means, was there any time in the in the past when the soul did not exist? He says, Natu eva, never ever. Never ever was there a time when the soul did not exist. And it is not that I, you, and all these things, sarve vayam, will not exist in the future. Rather, we all will certainly exist. Here he also shows that the soul is devoid of destruction. Dhvamsa abhav. Abhav means non-existence. Dhvamsa means destruction. There is no existence of destruction for the soul. The soul can never be destroyed anytime in future. So he says, by this, he concludes that since the Paramatma and the Jiva are both eternal, there is no cause for lamentation. If you say that the cause of affection is the soul, then you have absolutely no reason to lament because the soul never dies. The soul always existed, it will always continue to exist. So what are you lamenting for? So therefore the Shruti says that Nityo Nityanam Chetanas Chetananam Eko Bahu Yo Vidadhati Kaman. So he says Nityo Nityanam. He is the chief eternal amongst all the eternals. Chetanas Chetananam. He is the chief conscious amongst all conscious entities. Eko Bahunam Yo Vidadhati Kaman. He is the one who fulfills the needs of all the others. Say Shvetashvatara Upanishad. So therefore, Nityo Nityanam, both the Jivatma and the Paramatma are eternal. So therefore, there is absolutely no need for you to lament, O Arjuna. That's the first instruction that Krishna gives to Arjuna. Okay. Any quick comments, discussion points, questions before we move on to the next verse? Okay, if there is none, we will continue our discussion. So then he says, Dehinosmin yata dehe kaumaram yauvanam jara tata dehantara praptir dhirastatra muyati. He says, Yata dehinaha, just as the soul asmin in kaumaram yauvanam jara dehe. It passes through boyhood, youth, and old age. Asmin dehe, in this body. It passes from Kaumara avastha to Yavana avastha to Jara avastha, old age. Tata, in the same way, Deha Antara Praptihi. He attains another body at the time of death. Right? So when he is moving from Kaumara body to Yavana, you don't lament, even though there is a change of body. When there is a when there is a change from Balya Avastha to Kaumara Avastha, even though there is a change of body, you don't lament. When there is a change from Kaumara Avastha to Yavana Avastha, there is a change, but you don't lament. Change from, then why do you lament when there is a change from Jara Avastha to Balya Avastha, which is the time of death, from old body, infant body. Why do you have to lament? Tata Dehantara Prapti, in the same way, at the time of death, he changes from one body to another body, just like he has been changing throughout. Dhiraha Tatra Namuyati, a sober person or a wise person does not get bewildered by this. So why should you get bewildered? So he says, so this is the first point, the soul's eternality. The question was, is your object of affection the body or soul? If Arjuna would have answered, it is the soul, then he says, then why do you have to lament? Because the soul anyway keeps, the soul anyway is eternal. So if it is the object of affection, then it cannot be the object of lamentation, because it is eternal, right? So then if Arjuna would have answered, actually it is the body which is the object of my affection. So he says, one body becomes the object of affection as it is related to the soul, which is more dear to the self, most dear to the self. By relation with the body, one's sons, brothers, or other relatives become the objects of affection. And by relationship to them, even their sons also become the objects of affection, grandchildren. So when their bodies perish, there will certainly be lamentation. So this is Arjuna's very intelligent answer. He says, oh Krishna, as you just said, soul is the most dear entity to everyone. So because the body is connected to the soul, the body becomes the object of affection. And because the sons are connected to the body, the sons are the object of affection. And because their sons are connected to my sons, they also become the object of affection. So when their bodies perish, then there will certainly be lamentation. So why are you criticizing me for lamenting loss of body of my grandfather, my guru? Because they are all connected to my body, and my body is connected to my soul, and my soul is very dear to me. Okay, that is the argument by Arjuna. So Krishna responding to this, he says, in the body belonging to the jiva, dehinaha, one attains stages such as boyhood. After boyhood is destroyed, one attains youth. When youth is destroyed, one attains old age. In the same manner, one attains another body after death. So there is loss of body even before death. So if body is the object of affection, why are you not lamenting when child, when body becomes Kaumara body? Hmm? And when Kaumara body becomes Yavana body, why don't you lament? That's what he says. He says, just as one does not lament for the destruction of the bodies of affection in the form of boyhood and youth of the body, which are related to the soul and therefore dear. So one should also not lament for the destruction of the object of affection, the body, which is also related to the soul. So at the time of death. So if destruction of body should be the cause of lamentation, then was not the childish body, was it not dear? Yes, it was dear. But when it got destroyed, why did you not lament? This is Krishna's question. When it became boyish body, why did you not lament? And when the boyish body got destroyed and it became youthful body, why did you not lament? And when the youthful body got destroyed and it became middle-aged body, why did you not lament? So that is the question that he is asking. Destruction, if you say that my object of affection is body because it is connected to the soul, and therefore I should lament for the destruction of body, that also does not make sense, because throughout your life, I have not seen you lament for the change of body, which has been changing so much, right? But Arjuna's argument says, yes, you are right. I may not have lamented when Kaumara changed to Yavana, but when Yavana would change to Jara, there is lamentation, right? When people grow old, there is lamentation because of impending death, right? But with the destruction of youth and attainment of old age, one does lament. But then Krishna's argument is, but then again, with the destruction of boyhood and attainment of youth, one rejoices. You rejoice for the destruction of one body and creation of another body. Then why should you lament when youthful body is destroyed and old age comes? Right? And with the destruction of worn out bodies of Bhishma and Drona, they will attain new bodies and they will also become joyful. Right? So right now, Drona and Bhishma have old worn out bodies. When you kill them, they will get fresh new bodies, youthful bodies. And they will be happy. Why should you lament? So this is one meaning of this verse. Another meaning is, just as in one body a jiva attains various states such as boyhood, the same jiva attains various bodies life after life, and therefore one should not lament. So when there is a change of state from Kaumara to Yavana to Jara, and you don't lament. Similarly, there is similar change of state when the from one body to another body, so therefore one should not lament, right? So this is the argument of Krishna. So Krishna asks, okay, you're lamenting, Arjuna, what is your object of affection? Is it the body or the soul? If Arjuna would have answered soul, then he answered in verse number 2.12. The soul is eternal. If your object of affection is the soul, then it cannot be your object of lamentation, because the soul never gets destroyed. But then if Arjuna would have answered the body, then he says, if the body is the object of affection, then you should keep on lamenting all the time, because every moment the body is getting destroyed. So in Kaumara, Yavvanam, Jara. So, but if that is not an object of lamentation, if that is not a cause of lamentation for you, then death should also not be a cause of lamentation for you, because a similar change of body only happens, right? Any quick comments, discussion points based on this verse or anything? Anyone would like to share, ask? Yes, Galaxy. I don't know who it is.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, Dhanvat Pranam.
Then
So, Prabhuji, I was just trying to understand that when we have a loss of our near and dear ones, uh, we actually tend to cry a lot. Definitely, we are in a positive way that his or her next destination definitely will be a good one, because he or she has chanted and has, done devotional service to the Lord. So the next will be nice. And still we don't know whether what was the consciousness of that person before he or she left the body. Now many times we cry incessantly because we're so attached to the good qualities, or we were so indebted to whatever they have given us as our near and dear ones or as a relatives. So in this case, then uh, how can we actually even reconcile this, that we should not cry, we should not lament, we should not this, because I think in where actually emotions are there, we cannot be very hard hearted also. Definitely there is a connection with our near and dear ones. So if you can just throw light on this, that because in my life I have lost many of my near and dear ones, and we have lamented a lot on that. Still,
Well,
fond
there
memories
is
will be there.
you have actually brought in a very important question, because that's exactly what Arjuna is going to ask next. So Arjuna is going to ask next that what you say is right. I should actually neither lament for Bhishma Dev's soul, because I know that Bhishma Dev's soul is eternal. I should neither lament for his body, because he will get a fresh body in which he can have better quality enjoyment, right? But when he changes from this body to another body, he may get a fresh body, but I will not get the association of Bhishma Dev in that body, because I don't know in which body he will be there. That soul will be there. So,
Chalega. मैं कर ले ज्यादा पेशेंट
so that's what he is telling, that I will have to lament. I am neither lamenting for the body, loss of body, or for the loss of soul, because I know that the soul does not get destroyed. And I know the body is always getting destroyed. But when this soul goes from one gross body to another gross body at the time of death, I will not be having his association. And I have benefited so much from his association. I feel so indebted, and I've benefited so much from that association. I will not be getting that association. Therefore, I lament. So, is this a valid reason to lament? Yes. And even especially with respect to the Vaishnavas. So, we should lament actually. When we lose Vaishnavas, their association, uh, it is very important to lament, because we don't have their association. We are not lamenting for the loss of their soul or loss of their gross body. No, we are lamenting because we have lost their association, their inspiring association, right? That is why Narottam Das Thakur sings, Kaha Mora Swarup Rupa, Kaha Sanatan, Kahan Dasa Raghunatha, like that. Pashane Kutibo Mata, Anale Pashibo, Gauranga Gunera Nidhi, Kota Gele Pabo. I'm willing to hit my head against a rock. because I have lost the association, all these great um, Vaishnavas. So, one, it is a valid reason to lament for um, for for the loss of physical association, because even though the soul is eternal, the body is eternal. Sorry, the body is always getting destroyed, but still our association with a particular soul for which we are attached to is only in that particular body. And when he changes body, when he becomes a child, where he would have become a child, we do not know, and we will never have that person's association. So therefore, it is natural that one will lament. So Krishna is not telling that you should not lament at all, but then he says, don't lament for the wrong reason. Don't lament for the loss of soul. Don't lament for the loss of. You can lament for the loss of association. Okay, so that is okay. So that he will next verse. So I will. I don't know if it was relevant, Mataji, whatever. Was it relevant to what you asked? I thought I just unmuted you.
Yeah, Prabhuji. Sorry, I'm in the altar. So, yeah, Prabhuji, I think it was really relevant, and thank you so much that we should not lament for the body, but we should lament for the association of that particular person, Prabhuji.
We can lament.
We can, yeah. Thank you, Prabhuji.
Anything else anyone would like to share, add? Okay. There is a question in the chat box. Is this because we serve through this gross body? We are attached to one another, and so we lament when the body is left. Love means to serve, so there is always affection. Okay. Yeah, there may be. Yeah, we see the gross body only. Yeah, I think it's somewhat similar to what we have discussed, of when the gross body changes, then we no longer have association with that particular soul. We may have received tremendous inspiration, whether it may be material or spiritual, from that particular soul because of his inhabiting a particular gross body. Even though the soul is eternal and body is always dying, but when the soul changes from one gross body completely to another gross body, then we will cease to have association of that person whom we see, because it's a combination of soul and gross body and subtle body, of course, that we are actually attached to in one sense. Okay, anything else before we move on to the next verse? Okay, there is a question here. What is the understanding of soul and creation in Abrahamic religion? Okay, I don't know because I have not personally studied Abrahamic religions. So, what is the understanding of soul and creation in Abrahamic religions? Well, you have asked an important question. I can I will first present the principles, the generic principles. I'm not going to go into the details because honestly, I don't know the details. But I will present the generic principles. Then I will read a passage from Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur Jayavadharma to just give an understanding of this theme. But before that, Shyam Mohan Prabhu wants to share something.
Roji, Janvi wants to ask a question. My daughter.
Yes.
Bolo.
Yes.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Actually, I did not understand how the soul is supposed to be the object of affection, because the soul, it does not have any personality, and what we like about a person is that they might be smart, they might be funny, whatever, that is the body or the mind, whatever the personality, it is part of the body. So we like that about
Subtle body.
of the subtle body. So it is that which we like about the person. We
Uh-huh.
don't love the soul, but when the soul leaves the body, then it becomes inanimate. So the absence of the soul causes lamentation. So that is the cause of lamentation. And when the body, whatever personality it has, so that is the object of affection, no? So body
Well,
should.
it is both, right? It is like telling, is the object of affection the the electricity, or is the object of affection the cartoon that is running on the television? So, or whatever, I don't know what you watch. Um, uh, so, uh, so you may say, oh, it's the cartoon only, right? But what if the electricity is not there? So if the electricity is not there, you cannot see the cartoon. But when electricity is there, you don't watch the electricity, you don't observe the electricity, you are just absorbed in the cartoon. So therefore, in one sense, it depends. Actually, we may, it is just a combination. In one sense, our object of affection is a combination of both electricity and the cartoon. So, otherwise, you need the animating force also and the animation on the screen also, right?
Hmm.
So both. It is both. It's not that you don't have affection. So it may not be explicit. When the current goes, then you really miss the current. But when it is there, you don't appreciate it so much because we get caught up in the animations that are animated by the current on the TV screen, isn't it?
Huh.
Yeah.
So it's a bit of both.
Yeah, it's a combination. It's the combination. Nothing gets animated without the soul, and soul itself without the gross body, it has nothing to animate. So gross or subtle body, it has nothing to animate. So it is the combination of that animating force with that which is getting animated. That combination is actually attractive.
Okay. Okay. Thank you, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna, thank you. Okay, so there is this question about what is the understanding of soul in Abrahamic religions. Okay, I will. This is a question which I can talk, but it will take a long time to answer because this is a sensitive topic, and I feel for it also from inside. So, but I don't want to get really deviated from the existing pending questions on hand. So I will just park your question, Mataji, for Shamli Mataji as this. What is the understanding of soul and creation in Abrahamic religion? So I will just park this question till I answer first Shyam Mohan Prabhu's question, which he had asked last to last class about what if our original position was in Vaikuntha, then, and if we have come in touch with you can say like Gaudiya Vaishnavism, then what will happen to us, like that. That is one question which I want to touch. And another question that you had asked about you wanted to know more about anarthas and the modes, something like that, right? So it's not just because the discussion was on, sometimes we say that when the needs are not fulfilled, then it leads to anarthas. So then we had a discussion about that. These two things we will just discuss today. And if time permits beyond that, then we will definitely take the discussion on understanding of soul and creation in Abrahamic religion. But before that, if it's 9, So if there is any last question based on what we have discussed today, from these few verses that we have discussed, I'll take before we move on to that question of Shamohan Prabhu. Anything else? Okay, if there is none, then what I will do is I will just stop sharing this screen and I will open another screen where we will see Shamohan Prabhu's question. So his question was, what about someone whose eternal form is in Vaikuntha? Is Vraja Bhakti for everyone? Right? We have come to, I have come to associate with the devotees, Gaudiya Vaishnavas. So now, if by that, what if, and I have gotten initiated also, but what if my eternal form was in Vaikuntha? Okay, so this is the question. So, am I representing your question properly? Is there some more details that you would like to add? Shamohan Prabhu?
Prabhuji, honestly speaking, I don't quite remember what I had asked that time. And what you are saying rings a bell inside my head. And maybe probably what I had asked that time was that same Braj Bhakti, in the sense that it is mostly Madhurya that we are after in Gaudiya Vaishnavism. And
Okay.
I had started with saying like that I always wanted to be a Gaudiya Vaishnav in the mood of the Gaudiya Vaishnav, not
Mhm.
just a worshipper of Radha and Krishna. So I
Mhm.
think that is how I had started my question that time. And
Yeah,
then
and I think you also mentioned that what if my eternal form was in Vaikuntha, or if I was a worshipper of Narasimhadev, or even Radha and Krishna in Sakyaras or some Dasyaras like that. So then by association, what will happen? Something like that, right?
something like that, yes.
Yeah. So I will just touch this question and see if it satisfies everyone. Okay. So is Vraja Bhakti for everyone? So what I'm going to share now, it is from the book Shuddha Bhakti Chintamani by Shivram Swami Maharaj. Some of it is from Bhakti Rasamrit Sindhu. Some of it is from um, mm, uh, Ragavatma Chandrika by Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. And maybe something is from Manasiksha also. Okay. So here, Srila, this is from Shivram Maharaj's book, what I'm going to read right now. Is Vraja Bhakti for everyone? What about someone whose eternal relationship is with one of Krishna's expansions? Let's say Narasimhadev. Doesn't Krishna consciousness revive that service attitude with the Lord and nothing more? Okay. Let's say if Shamohan Prabhu's eternal Swaroop in the spiritual world was a doorkeeper of Vaikuntha. Now he has stumbled into Gaudiya Vaishnavism and he has accepted initiation also. He has become Sham Mohan Das now. Now, if he continues his practice of Krishna consciousness as taught by the Gaudiya Vaishnava Acharyas and Srila Prabhupada, he said that at the stage of perfection, he will rejoin his role as being the doorkeeper of Vaikuntha, or will he land up in Goloka? If he lands up in Goloka, what will happen to his post of being a doorkeeper in Vaikuntha? Is that still eternal? Or who is going to do that role? So these are the questions. So what does Krishna consciousness do in the case? Or another question that comes is, Or is it that only those who have eternal position in Goloka Vrindavan, is it that only such people get attracted to the Krishna consciousness movement? This is another question. So that, yeah, these are like very important questions. So now let's see. The answer he says is no. No means what? Krishna consciousness does not just revive that position. He says the followers of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu who understand and have faith in the preeminence of Vraja Bhakti may be servants of the Narayan form of the Lord, but the grace of Lord Gauranga awards them the devotion, residence, and form of the Vrajavasis. So, you may have an eternal position in Vaikuntha as the doorkeeper of Vaikuntha, let's say. But if while in this Bhuloka, having come in touch with Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's movement, if you have trust that yes, this Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's movement is the preeminent movement and Vraja Bhakti is preeminent and that is my flavor and I wish to become a Vraja Bhakta in Vrindavan. If you have this faith, then by the grace of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, you get devotion, residence, and form of Vrajavasis. Okay. Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu explains this while speaking to an assembly of devotees, including Advaita Acharya and Srivas Thakur. So what we are going to read now, I think this is from Shri Chaitanya Chandrodaya Natak by Srila Kavi Karnapu. So the situation is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is addressing the assembly of his dear devotees. Okay. And in that assembly are Advaita Acharya, Srivas Thakur, and many other devotees, and he is addressing them. Okay. Now, this is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu speaking. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says, so be it. I will go to Vrindavan and there I will accept you as my associates. And with my sweet pastimes, I will fill your heart's bliss. Now he says, to you who have faith in Vrindavan, I will give splendid spiritual forms like my own. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is telling that when I will take you to Vrindavan and I will give you splendid spiritual forms just like my own. That is what I will do for you. And then he says, those of you whose hearts are bound to me in this form of Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, even if your rasas are friendship or servitude to Shri Radha Madhav or Lord Dwarkadish, or if your rasas are friendship or servitude to any of my other incarnations, I will make you into my eternally liberated associates in Goloka Vrindavan. This is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu speaking to his associates, and this is from Sri Chaitanya Chandrodaya Natak. So he says, even if you have any other form, even if your eternal Swarupa is in Vaikuntha serving another form of Krishna in his Narayan Swarupa or anything, still he says, if you get attracted to me, I will give you an eternal form in Goloka Vrindavan in Madhurya Rasa, he says. Right? This is Chaitanya Chandrodaya Natak. Okay. Then, so he says, this is Shivram Maharaj writing, the conclusion drawn from this and other such statements by the Gaudiya Vaishnava Acharyas is that the Krishna consciousness movement provides for its followers a place in Goloka Vrindavan. Whatever their constitutional position, devotees are promoted to the topmost abode to relish the topmost mellows of love. This is the essence of Lord Chaitanya's mission. What is the essence of Lord Chaitanya's mission? To give love specifically for Krishna. Krishna prema pradayate. He came to give Krishna prem, he will give Krishna prem, and he will take you to Krishna Loka and make you a Krishna Parshada. Right? Of course, if devotees have no knowledge of or faith in Raja Bhakti, if their firm devotion is reposed in a Vaikuntha form of Lord Krishna, then their destination will accord with their desires. Right? So if someone is very firm, no, Vaikuntha form only. If Shaman Prabhu says, no, I wish to be a doorkeeper of Vaikuntha, nothing else. So then his practice of Krishna consciousness will bestow him that desire. So, so then he says, Lord Chaitanya implies this in the above quote, which states that he awards devotees Braja Bhakti on the condition that they have faith in Vrindavan. If you have faith in Vrindavan, if you have faith in that flavor of love that is seen in Vrindavan, and if you are aspiring for it, he says, I will give it to you. If despite ISKCON's directing its members to Krishna and Vrindavan, some devotees remain firmly attached to another destination, then surely Lord Chaitanya will fulfill their desire in that regard. However, this would be the exception rather than the rule. So if you say, look, actually, I am a part of ISKCON, but you know what, I am actually attracted to Lord Ram only, and I wish to go to Ayodhya only, and I am very clear about it. Then Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says, fine, okay, I will facilitate it, no problem. But this is not what Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came to give. Then the question arises, well, but how can one's eternal identity change? This is my Nitya Swarup, right? How can identity change? Okay. So another frequently asked question, how can one's eternal identity change? So in addition to the prime consideration that anything and everything is possible by Lord Chaitanya's inconceivable grace, that is one thing, right? By Lord Chaitanya's inconceivable grace, anything can happen. Okay. But that apart, another consideration is that the transcendental desires of devotees to serve in a particular relationship or more than one relationship are also considerations. Is it possible? We hear that Kardama Muni expanded into 9 forms to satisfy Devahuti. This was while he was in this material world only. And Saubhari Muni expanded into so many forms. All this was while he was in the material world only. Right? So, if while in the material world, an extraordinarily conditioned soul only can expand into multiple forms for particular material purposes, why can't it be possible in the spiritual world? Let's see. The Lord may promote devotees to exclusive service in Braja or to serve simultaneously in multiple destinations, including Braja. So now he is going to quote from Brihad Bhagavatamrita. So in this way, they attain other entities while retaining their original ones. So which means while he can remain the doorkeeper of Vaikuntha, he can parallelly be in Goloka Vrindavan also as a Manjari assisting Srila Rupa Goswami in his service to Radha and Krishna. That is possible. So now he is going to quote from Brihad Bhagavatamrita. Okay. So, I mean, this is there in Brihad Bhagavatamrita. Now he is further going to give some additional proofs for it. He gives the example of Garuda. Lord Vishnu's eternal carrier Garuda, for example, is also an eternal associate of Lord Chaitanya called Garuda Pandit and is present in Vrindavan as Sridama. Okay. So, he is parallelly in three places. It is the same personality. In Vrindavan, he is Sridama. In Shvetadvip, where Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's pastimes are happening in the spiritual world, he is Garuda Pandit. In Vaikunta, he is Garuda, the carrier of Krishna. Similarly, the everlasting Ganges river that flows from the causal ocean throughout the universe is also present in Goloka as the gopi named Vara Prema Manjari. Okay. So, like that, there are multiple manifestations in different places. This is possible. And of course, Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur states that Lord Chaitanya's followers may acquire eternal forms in Braja as Brajavasis and in Shvetadvip as Sadhakas. This is in his Brahma Samhita purport. The Bhakti Siddhanta Thakur says, and also Bhaktivinoda Thakur says that those who follow the path of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and those who have great affection for Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, they will also have parallel forms, one in Shvetadvip as an associate of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and the other in Goloka Vrindavan as an associate of Radha and Krishna. Okay. He says there is also another way in which the Lord's associates have multiple identities, and that is in their services in Vrindavan. And he's going to give the example of Balramji. He says, for example, Lord Baladev serves Krishna in a conjugal relationship as Srimati Radharani's younger sister, Ananga Manjari, as well as in a fraternal relationship as Krishna's elder brother. These are but a few of the many variations Shastra describes of perfected or eternally perfect devotees serving the Lord in multiple milos and multiple forms. It is possible. The essence of the above is that Lord Chaitanya invites everyone to enter into the most treasured, most elevated, and most perfect relationship with Krishna. Does that answer your question, Shamantu?
Prabhuji, thank you for this piece of information. But as you were explaining, I recollected my original question. It is a little different from what you have explained. And thank you very much for this explanation, which I think I have not heard any time before.
I think I also remember your original question, too.
Let me put it in my words again, Prabhuji.
Yes.
I had said that initially that I had said that I just didn't want to be a worshipper of Radha Krishna. I wanted to worship Radha Krishna in the mood of Gaudiya Vaishnavas, in the mood and sentiment of Gaudiya Vaishnavas.
Correct.
And the worship of Radha and Krishna is in at least the four higher rasas, leaving aside Shantaras. And these four higher rasas is what Chaitanya Mahaprabhu had come to give.
Correct.
But the only mood in which Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself is worshipped is only in the Dasyas. There is no Sakya with Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, no Madhurya, no Vatsalya with Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, at least for the followers. His own relatives, that's okay. His mother is fine. Gadadhar Pandit, I don't know exactly whether that was Sakya, but yes, possible. For his followers, only the Dasya Ras is available with Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And Gaudiya Vaishnavism, the pathway is through Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. We worship Radha Krishna through the agency of Mahaprabhu. So my question was that we are worshipping through Dasya. And will that open up our path to the other four forms of the higher rasas? And
This is, yes, this is such a wonderful question. So I'm going to answer that question. So,
Pushpoji,
yeah.
a corollary to that, like now I am at a stage of a very neophyte person in this bhakti, and it is not possible to even focus my mind in a particular form of worship. So it is a little esoteric way I'm asking. It is though this is not possible for me. The thing is that worshipping Radha and Krishna and worshipping Mahaprabhu, is it along the same way, or is worshipping Mahaprabhu is a kind of a different mood and mellow, and therefore a distraction, and then worshipping Radha and Krishna is a different mood and mellow, and therefore it is a different thing. So whether I should concentrate on worshipping Radha Krishna or concentrate on worshipping Mahaprabhu, and whether worshipping Mahaprabhu will ultimately lead to worshipping Radha Krishna, how is that possible, made possible? Big question
Yes.
mark in my head.
Yes. So let's see.
Yeah.
I will read this section. Let's see if it touches your question. So the overall topic that I was going to discuss was the role of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in the development of Raganuga Bhakti. So in that, I was just going to touch this one subtopic, which is how is it that simply by serving Lord Chaitanya, one becomes eligible for Raganuga Bhakti? Because in Raganuga Bhakti, I am supposed to be serving Radha and Krishna. And that too, when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came to give Madhurya, but Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself would be served in generally Dasya only, right? So he says, first one should remember that Lord Chaitanya is non-different from Radha and Krishna. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Radha Krishna Nahe Anya. Narottam Das Thakur says, therefore, that devotees who surrender to Lord Chaitanya are automatically counted as confidential associates of Radha and Krishna. It is just a matter of time before their service matures and fully manifests. How it exactly happens, we may not understand, right? So if a doctor gives a paracetamol, as soon as I put it, how my body temperature comes down, I may not understand, but the doctor understands, right? So Narottam Das Thakur in his Prarthana, he Gaura Prema Rasarnave Setarange Yeba Dobe Sera Madava Antaranga Griheva Vanete Take Ha Gauranga Bole Dake Narottama Mage Tarasanga. He says, anyone who takes pleasure in sporting in the waves of the ocean of Lord Chaitanya's distribution of love of God, which means if you are serving Chaitanya Mahaprabhu by preaching his message, say Radha Madhava Antaranga. He is at once a confidential devotee of Radha and Madhava. This we may not try to logically understand. Whether he is a sannyasi or a householder, Griheva Vanete Take Ha Gauranga Bole Dake. A devotee who calls out to the Lord and serves his Sankirtan movement is always liberated, right? Now, this is where your question comes. But the activities of the Sankirtan movement are performed in the mood of reverential service, which is Dasya, to Lord Chaitanya. How can such a mood develop into the spontaneous spirit conducive to Vraja Bhakti? Right? He says, because Lord Chaitanya is Krishna in the mood of Radha, Lord Chaitanya is pleased with those who chant and serve Krishna's name with faith and humility. So when one tries to chant Krishna's name with faith and humility, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is pleased. And when he is pleased, he then infuses spontaneous devotion in the servant's heart. Okay. Right now, my body does not have any, um, virus. But what if a person takes some virus in a syringe and injects it into my body? Huh? So then it comes, right? Then we become infected by that virus. So similarly, we may not have, but when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is pleased, he can inject and infuse that spontaneous devotion in the servant's heart. Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur says in Navadvip Dham Mahatmya, he says, although devotees serve Krishna in one of 5 mellows, they worship Chaitanya Mahaprabhu only in the mood of servitude. However, because Gaura is non-different from Radha and Krishna, sincere service to him results in the awakening of one's relationship with the divine couple in any of the 5 moods. For example, although Radha and Krishna's pastimes do not manifest themselves directly in the pastimes of Lord Chaitanya or his Sankirtan movement, fully mature service to him fructifies as the development of Madhurya Rasa. By Lord Chaitanya's blessing, devotees then become fit to perform spontaneous service to Radha and Shyam in Vrindavan. So therefore, worshipping Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is not a distraction. Actually, it is a prerequisite to actually develop that mood. It is the means of developing that mood that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came to give is through worshipping Chaitanya Mahaprabhu only in the mood of Dasya. That is, they will externally serve Lord Chaitanya's mission and internally cultivate spontaneous devotion for Radha and Krishna. Such devotees become quickly submerged in the ocean of Radha and Krishna's pastimes. By the grace of the divine couple who combine to appear as Gauranga, these devotees gain admittance to the spiritual realm to forever become the gopis' companions. Is that relevant, Shamontu?
Yes, Prabhuji, this is very much relevant and to the point. These words are by whom, Prabhuji?
This
What
is
I read?
from Shuddha Bhakti Chintamani by Srila Shivaram Swami Maharaj.
Acha, from that same book.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice. Good to know. So then
Okay.
worship Mahaprabhu means following the 3 principles, no? Name
What
Ruchi,
to?
Jivadaya and Vaishnav Seva.
Yes.
That is the way to
Yes.
worship Mahaprabhu.
Yes. Correct.
Name Ruchi, Jivadaya and Vaishnav Seva.
Correct. Correct. Correct.
Prabhuji, I have another interesting question for you, which I'm sure you will like to answer, and it will
Yes.
take time also.
Yeah,
Definitely.
you can ask the question
Yeah.
and we will try to discuss the answer in the next session.
Prabhuji, this is many years back. I had heard from the mouth of another devotee, and I have not read it personally myself. But then he was quoting, I think, Jaiva Dharma, and he said that there was just a discussion happening casually that why the spirit souls fall down from the spiritual world, and how come we landed up here in the material world. And just some time back, you explained the progression, no? The promotion of the spirit souls, devotees from one lower rasa to higher rasa, or maybe from Vaikuntha to Vraja Bhakti. So in that context, I remembered this, and therefore I'm sharing and also asking you that to explain it further. The devotee was saying that he read that this this bringing spirit souls into the material world is is part of Krishna's arrangement to upgrade the living entities, in the sense that they fall down from the Brahma Jyoti. So Brahma Jyoti is also filled up with spirit souls. And Jyoti mein spirit souls are just lying dormant. They are not in association with the Lord in any of the rasas. And when the Brahma Jyoti says spirit souls fall down in the material world, and in the material world, if by luck they come in contact with the Lord's incarnations or devotees, and then through these preaching movements anywhere, then that opens to them the pathway to upgrade themselves and come to higher Vaikuntha and to Vrindavan, Golok Vrindavan also. So that is also the reason why the Lord allows the spirit souls to fall down from the Brahma Jyoti and upgrades them through this process.
Well, you sort of grasped some of it, but there are much more details to it. Maybe we could discuss, but this discussion will be a long discussion. Maybe at least we will start it next week and see how far it goes. Because we recently discussed this in our Chaitanya Shikshamrit discussion, and it took us almost like 8 hours to discuss this. So, but anyway, but at least I will try to in a very short way try to discuss this. I think
This is in Jaiva Dharma only, no, Prabhuji?
this is, yeah, we were studying Chaitanya Shikshamrit and I was quoting from Jaiva Dharma in that. In both the books, the discussion comes. In Chaitanya Shikshamrit, not so elaborately. So we took the elaborate discussion from Jaiva Dharma and we discussed it. So yeah, we will try to touch this maybe next week. But before that, Shamli Mataji's question is also there that we will start with from next week, and then we will come back to your question.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you. Hare Krishna. Okay, so I think it's time. So we will end here and continue next Friday. Thank you very much for your patient listening and your enthusiastic participation. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. I mean, we are discussing, so many books. So, Srimad Bhagavad Gita ki jai. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur ki jai. Hare Krishna. Thank you very much.